Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for some red hot legacy action. Today we are playing some Burn. Now a couple of weeks ago I did a Burn video and it became my most popular video of all time, so I thought let's go back into this space and see if we can try something a bit different. So Burn is obviously beyond fringe in legacy. It's just a thing that people don't really run anymore and it's been power crept out. So my thoughts on the topic were, how about if we try and use some of these really busted cards that have been printed in recent years and see if they work in Legacy. So this mouse, I am assured, is completely bananas. So it's a 1-mana 1/1 that got banned from Standard. Whenever this creature becomes a target of a spell or ability you control for the first time each turn, put a +1/+1 counter on it. So it's going to grow when we're just doing stuff that we want to do with it. Cool. When it dies, it deals damage equal to its power to each opponent. So it's going to be getting a bit larger and then blowing some stuff up when it goes away. That seems reasonable. And here's another card that was banned in Standard, I believe. Monstrous Rage is a 1-mana instant. Target creature gets +2/+0 until the end of turn and create a monster roll attached to it. So a monster roll is an enchantment, like an aura. It gives it +1/+1 and trample. So this alone on the Heartfire Hero is going to give you a massive beat stick. But we can also put it on things like Monastery Swiftspear or our Dragon's Rage Channeler. So the aim of the game here is to play like an aggressive threat like Dragon's Rage Channeler, Heartfire Hero or Monastery Swiftspear on turn 1, and then either feed its prowess or its Valiant ability here. So I am worried that we don't have enough stuff to trigger the Heartfire Hero. We don't need to trigger it very often for it to be really good. So aside from the Monstrous Rage, we also have Reckless Charge, which is 1 mana, target creature gets +3/+0, gains haste until end of turn, and it has flashback. So we get 2 bites of the cherry with this one. This card is surprisingly good. I think a lot of people sleep on this. Now, it does come at a cost because you need to have a creature. It's not just like a lightning bolt to the face. But if you just go play this, Reckless Charge it, all of a sudden you're getting in for 5 damage and you've got this threat that's going to be larger for subsequent turns. So that seems pretty good to me. We are experimenting here, right? The other thing that we can use to trigger the Heartfire Hero is the Cori-Steel Cutter. So we can equip this to the mouse and it'll put a counter on it. And then we can just keep doing that every turn if we want to. And then the other stuff in the deck is just what you'd expect. We've got Lightning Bolts, we've got Chain Lightnings, we've got Boltwave, we've got the Fireblasts, and we've got some Bauble to try and make our prowess stuff a little bit stronger here. And we have one Simian Spirit Guide. This is just instead of the 18th land. Like sometimes you would play 18 lands in Burn, but it doesn't always feel great. This is just going to be better most of the time. It allows us to come out the gates quicker. We can hit our opponent for 5 on turn 1, and then just have a scaling threat as well. So yeah, that's what we're doing with the main deck. Sideboard-wise, we've got some Graveyard Hate because you kind of need that. We've got Price of Progress for any deck that's going to be playing a slightly longer game, playing a bunch of lands out. We can get them with the Price of Progress. Harsh Mentor is an interesting one that I've seen people playing in some sideboards, and I wanted to try it myself. So it's a 2-mana 2/2. Whenever an opponent activates an ability of an artifact, creature, or land on the battlefield, if it isn't a mana ability, this creature deals 2 damage to that player. So let's say our opponent is playing Mystic Forge combo. All of a sudden, whenever they're drawing cards with the One Ring, it's going to hurt them. Obviously, not the first time because they have protection. But if they like use any of their manifold keys, that's going to hurt them as well. So it's going to do a reasonable amount of damage and try and clock our opponent. We're not trying to stop our opponent from doing their thing. We're trying to make it so they're dead. This is also pretty good against Nadu decks where they've got an ability they want to spam. So that's hopefully going to be an interesting one that we can bring in. The other card might be a bit of a surprise to you. This is Claim of the Firstborn. So one of the reasons Burn is even worse now than previously is Barragoyf is everywhere. Barragoyf is a 3-mana, usually 5-power creature with lifelink that's just going to cause us all sorts of trouble. We can't attack into it very profitably. We can't block it. It's just going to be a nightmare. Sometimes you can block it once, kill your own guy so they don't get the lifelink, but then what are you doing from that point onwards? Like, as soon as it connects once, that's probably the game. It's kind of like them cancelling out 2 of the cards every time it hits. So what Claim of the Firstborn does is they try and stabilize with their Barragoyf. We say, we're going to have that Barragoyf, we're going to hit you with it this turn, and that should hopefully do enough to have you dead. That's the plan. So this is just kind of trying to circumvent the stability our opponent can get with a Barragoyf. Also, you can target your own creatures with this, so we can target our mouse and grow it. So what I'm looking for today, this is by no means a finished deck list. It's just an idea to see how good this sort of thing is. Do we need to lean harder into this? Is it worth it? These are the things we're trying to ask ourselves today. And if this Burn video does half as well as the previous one, then we're probably going to see some more burn down the stretch, because this is an interesting space that I think does need some love and some work, especially since it can represent a budget way into the format as well. So if we could try and sharpen this up, that would be great. So let's just get stuck in. Like, subscribe, do all the good stuff, and let's try and burn some people down. Have you got magic cards you don't want taking up space in your home, or do you just need some extra spending money? Well, my lovely sponsors 3for1 Trading are buying all collections, big and small. They are one of Europe's biggest traders and have a transparent process to sell them cards and make sure you're getting a good deal. Click the link in the description of this video to get an offer on your cards today. So we've immediately run into a slight problem that our deck can sometimes have here, which is we have the mouse. We don't have anything to back up the mouse. I think we do still keep this. Also, if you're wondering why we have fetch lands, it's so that we can put lands in our graveyard for the purposes of Delirium. It also gives us the ability to sometimes float something on top with the Dragon's Rage Channeler, and then if we don't need it, after the turn cycle's gone through, we can then shuffle it away. But we've got, what, 3, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 damage in hand here. So let's just play this mountain and get this mouse in. Being on the play means this probably isn't going to eat a Bowmasters immediately, which is nice. Alright, our opponent's pausing to read this one, which is fair enough. Alright, we've got who in chat. I did have a version of this deck which also ran Brute Force, which is a red giant growth. Basically just 4 damages for 1 mana with one of these guys. Okay, so we have a Chrome Mox here. Volcanic Island into Chrome Mox. Is this some sort of strange show and tell build? Or is this a Storm build? Let's have a look. Shadow Skull Smashing. Not really sure what's going on. A Dragon's Rage Channeler. Right, we're going to put this into the graveyard now. We're going to deploy our Dragon's Rage Channeler. We're going to attack with our little mouse. And I don't really want to Chain Lightning into what our opponent has got up. We can just Boltwave here and just get a Surveil going. I think that is fine. A Chain Lightning is a little bit tricky when our opponent has red available. I think we're just going to Surveil this one away. It is just more damage. Maybe we just keep it and then we just hope for the best. Ancient Tomb. That's what we like to see, because that means our opponent's going to be hurting themselves. Now, what we don't want to see here is our opponent playing something game-ending like an Atraxa or something. 3 mana. No? Okay. So if they tap out of red, we can fire 2 Chain Lightnings at our opponent's face. That should be pretty good. We'll get some Surveil in. Burning Wish. Yeah, so this is like the epic gamble. So I did correctly identify that it was some sort of Storm variant. Grape Shot. A little bit rude. So they're going to kill both of our guys here. We can Fireblast our own Heartfire Hero if we want to, but that doesn't seem like a great use of our time. So we get to deal our opponent 1 from the mouse. So the mouse did 2 damage from 1 card. So that's under rate. That's one of the things we want to be looking at here. Alright, let's go to the Dome. And again. So we have lethal in hand. We need our opponent to not kill us. If they tap this Ancient Tomb and then play another Ancient Tomb and tap it, then we have lethal off this Fireblast. Ooh, a second Ancient Tomb. Mox Opal. It didn't float. Oh, they couldn't float because they didn't have enough artifacts. Alright, this is the Galvanic Relay. That is not going to cut the mustard here. Defense Grid, Lotus Petal, Grim Monolith. Alright, let's Lightning Bolt our opponent. Let's Lightning Bolt our opponent. Okay, that worked. How are we going to do the sideboarding here? Because our opponent's deck is actually one that we're not going to have the most amount of tools. So I think the problem with Harsh Mana is this doesn't ping for mana abilities. So we're not really going to be able to get that going. I think Price of Progress looks okay. It's probably going to deal on average 4 damage for 1 card, which is fine. Look at our 1-drop slot. Crazy, isn't it? Are we going to be doing that much Cori-Steel Cutter stuff? Let's move some of these cards around so we can see all the cards in our deck. So I think our opponent is going to be playing any sort of Chalice of the Void thing, which our deck does look a little bit weak to, so maybe that's something we need to address as well. So we could just get rid of like Chain Lightning because our opponent can fire it back at us, and Price of Progress is likely going to be doing more. Chain obviously is cheaper, but Price of Progress can deal more damage. I think that's fine. We're not exactly short of 1-drops here, are we? I think we keep the Cori-Steel Cutter. That makes sense to me. Okay, we have a 1-drop into pumping our 1-drop for a bunch. So this is going to be +4 on 1 turn. That's pretty strong. So we might be in a situation where our deck doesn't actually want Cori-Steel Cutters in. Also, we might be in a situation where our opponent kills us this turn. Grim Monolith. 3 mana out of the Monolith. It's another Monolith. 4 mana. The One Ring. Yep, that's pretty good. Pretty good indeed. And our Price of Progress, not doing any damage. Our opponent hasn't played a land yet. Okay, I will deploy this Swiftspear. No point attacking because of the One Ring protection. So next turn we could play Steel Cutter Bauble and get the Steel Cutter running. And then the turn after, this translates into way more damage because it's pumping prowess. It's giving us new tokens. All right, they finally found a land. 3 mana here. What are we working with? A Burgie. Now, we're pretty good at killing these sorts of things. Amusingly, we don't actually have a way of killing it in our hand right now. But if our opponent's got Echo Vions, then I think we're in a lot of trouble. Maybe no, we're not supposed to play out the Bauble, I don't think. All right, so have the Echo and a new grip for both of us. Like, our opponent's going to be able to combo quicker than us pretty much every single time. We were quite lucky in game 1. Defense Grid. That is not really where our opponent wants to be spending their mana. Kind of surprised it's even still in the deck. All right, they're still going. So we now have a Lightning Bolt that can pick up the Burgie. So next turn is probably... It's either Channel a Lightning Bolt or Rage Lightning Bolt. Burning Wish. Okay. We might be dead pretty soon. What do you like to reveal to us, opponent? Empty the Warrens. That's going to be many goblins. So, what is it? 16 goblins? That is many goblins. Alright, I think our opponent probably gets this game off the back of a million goblins. They also have this Burgie, which is a lot. Okay. What is the best amount of damage we can do here? So if we go... We're obviously playing the Mountain. So we could play this Dragon's Rage Channeler. That allows us to do what exactly? Not much. We play the Cori-Steel Cutter and then the Dragon's Rage Channeler. Then we're probably going to have to chump block this Burgie. Do we need to kill the Burgie right now? I think playing the Cori-Steel Cutter is part of our plan. The question is, are we using this Simian Spirit Guide to play this Dragon's Rage Channeler to give us an additional blocker? Or are we going to fire a Lightning Bolt here? I think firing the Lightning Bolt ends up making the most sense. So we don't really get to attack here. We do have the option of Fireblasting and having no lands. I don't particularly like that option very much. So now we have 2 creatures that can kill guys and survive. So then we take 14. And the following turn, we take 12. So if we can get rid of some more guys on the following turn by playing 2 spells, getting more guys, I think we are in an okay spot in terms of not being dead in the immediate couple of turns. Now, there is this One Ring card, which is completely busted and is going to draw them everything you could possibly want. So once we stabilize against this, which is not going to be easy, or even possible perhaps, but then our opponent's just going to be able to combo us off. Okay, they've got Harnfell, so this is just going to allow them to have 10 cards in their hand instead of 5. What do we got in the Exile Zone? Burning Wish, Echo Vions, some Artifact Mana, 3, 4, 5. We can just F6 this turn anyway because of the defense grid. We can't even Fireblast if we want to. I could just play a Runehorn Hellkite, right? That might genuinely be quite good. It's a big boy. They can play a lot of this stuff out. I don't know if they can kill us this turn. Probably, right? So they got 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 damage coming in. So they need to do less 6 damage. And I think what they have here can get them up to a Grape Shot for 6. So they're at 4 now. A couple of Grim Monoliths. The Burning Wish. This should all work out well for them. So there's the first Grim Monolith, which then plays the second one. Their Storm Count's going to be plenty. Their mana's going to be enough to get us with the Grape Shot, unless they make some sort of colossal misclick. Casting Galvanic Relay here. We are already dead. But it's interesting our opponent's doing this. I'm just playing the Runehorn Hellkite. So I think they had a clean line to attack with all their guys and then Grape Shotting us. They didn't attack with all of their guys. That is very interesting. Dragon's Rage Channeler in. So how do we block this guy? If we don't, we can block 1, 2, 3, 4 of these. And we take 12, so that's 17. Curious. Let's get the Swiftspear going. This is just going to get us more tokens. This is also going to allow us to surveil a bit. So this is now 5. And it has Trample. So if we block 1, 2, 3 of these guys, we take 10, 11, 12, 13, plus 5 is 18. So we're not dead. So we can attack here. And maybe our opponent makes some sort of mistake. We could just attack with a bunch of things and hope that our opponent makes a blocking mistake, and then we can win with the Fireblast. This guy has trample as well. So this can just be blocked by a 1/1, so I'm not really interested in that. We attack with these two. We take 5 plus 14 is 19. So we can attack with this and still technically be alive. We need to win the game. All right, they're blocking there. So this is a 5/4. I can Fireblast here to lose both of my lands. It will pump this guy for 1, so I'll take out an additional token. No, sorry, yeah, I'll take out 1 token here, and I'll take out this, and I'll put our opponent down lower on their life total. Now, the downside is we're not going to have any lands if we do that. How useful are our lands? Which is a very strange thing for me to be saying here. Just clearing out all the tokens. Alright, we're going to go for it, I think, here. Could be a little risky. There's also an argument of not wanting to put the Runehorn Hellkite in our opponent's graveyard. Okay, we don't need the Dragon's Rage Channeler. Yep, we kill all of those. We kill the Hellkite and the Goblin. If they do a wheel and don't win the game, then we end up most likely with enough lands that we can deploy something. So we've got our opponent to 7. I wonder if like the Grape Shot just isn't in our opponent's sideboard anymore and they just put it in the main so they can have ways they can draw 2 in their deck to kill our guys, maybe. Uncertain of that one. So now they've got a bunch of stuff sat in exile over there, including this Burning Wish. But we are on 20 still. Now, yes, they have a bunch of guys, but they might be somewhat reluctant to turn them all sideways. Unless they have a guaranteed win. But I think they had a guaranteed win last turn with a Grape Shot and they didn't take it. So I am curious about the line our opponent takes it. We can have 6 because we don't have any plays. Alright, they got 10 mana. They got Storm count of 4 so far. Another copy of the One Ring. Yeah, that's certainly going to buy them a bit of time, isn't it? Are you going to start drawing cards with it, or are you just going to have to hold back here? We can't Fireblast them because our opponent has got the One Ring, and we also don't have Double Mountain. So this seems like a really good turn for our opponent to turn their guys sideways. Right, what was this Burning Wish doing? Tendrils of Agony. Okay, they just have a Tendrils. Yeah, they definitely could have killed us last turn. Okay, I don't think we do anything differently here. We're just not really well set up to deal with this. Like, combo decks tend to go in underneath aggro decks. Sure, I will keep this one and we'll lead off on the Swiftspear. Next turn we can Heartfire Hero and then we can Reckless Charge it. And then that's a big chunk of damage that our opponent has to contend with. And then, you know, maybe we'll find something to make this Cori-Steel Cutter pop. Maybe this card is too slow for the deck. Or they mulligan to 5, which might mean they need more turns, or they just wheel on turn 1, which is pretty good too. Alright, the mulligan to 4 generally means that they're looking for Echo of Eons and Lines of Diamond at that point. Which is one of the pluses of running these sort of Epic Gamble style lists, is that you do have the ability to mulligan super low and still play a real game, because you can just reset it again. And they know they don't have to worry about counter magic either. Well, I suppose it's possible that we could be playing Pyroblasts, but we're tapped out here. I don't think they're going to play around us having Simian Spirit Guide Pyroblast. Just don't do anything too scary. Just tap land. Oh, okay. Well, they paid 3 life, so that kind of helps what we're doing, but at the same point, they're not going to be doing this unless they have something really good. The last 2 cards, Lion's Eye Diamond and Echo. It is Lion's Eye Diamond and Echo. So now we have the Heartfire Hero without anything to pump it. Rite of Flame. Is this a setup turn or is this a we die turn? Now, if they kill us on turn 1, I don't think we can be upset with how the game panned out, because our deck is not going to beat turn 1 combo. Now, we could have something like Leyline in our sideboard that we could try and cut off these Echo draws, but Leyline is such a bad draw for us. And against a lot of Reanimator style decks, which is where you would maybe want some more Leyline type stuff, we're just going to reduce their life total so they can't cast it anyway, and then a few Faerie Macabres is enough to go over the end. Go over the edge there, I think. Okay, Chromox. Gamble. We're hoping that they're gambling for the LED, and then they pitch the LED. That's the best case scenario for us here. Defense Grid. I don't think that's the card they were choosing for here. A Galvanic Relay. So we're going to get another turn. Hopefully this isn't going to be a very strong relay. Wish, Wish, Rite of Flame, Wish, Kraza, Mox. Okay. Can live with what we're seeing there. So this is Mountain, Steel Cutter. Are we playing the Heartfire Hero this turn, or are we playing a Boltwave? Heartfire Hero gives us more damage for the following turn in theory. This is 4 damage this turn. Actually, it's more than 4 damage because we're going to get this as well. So if we Bauble here as our second spell, and then we can Simian Spirit Guide and Boltwave our opponent here. We're not going to Mishra's Bauble because there's no point drawing a card. If our opponent's an Echo deck, we're just going to lose that card. It's not necessarily going to be something that we get to use. So we should be able to turn 3 our opponent, I believe. We'll Bauble in our opponent's turn so that we get extra card on our turn. Provided we get a turn. I don't know if this amounts to them killing us, but it's probably pretty close. This is 3 mana, 6 mana, 7 mana. Are we just playing out a Burgie? We are playing out a Burgie. Do they have the Chrome Mox? They can start the chain going here. Yeah. So this gets them a mana off of the Burgie. They're not imprinting on the Chrome Mox. Okay, they had a Lion's Eye Diamond in hand. That's obviously phenomenal. So now they can play this Grim Monolith, which then gets them a red mana. We could be looking at some kind of Empty the Warrens plan this turn. Although I guess they can Burning Wish and then Echo the Eons and start the whole thing again. Defense grid. We're just going to do this now so we can F6. Okay. So we're on 20. Burning Wish here. So we can go and get... Oh, we're getting Peer. Yeah, that's pretty good. I understand why they have a defense grid now. If they're doing Peer lines when they're at 6 life. So they have to win now, but they do have 20 cards in their hand to win with. So they need a Lion's Eye Diamond. That does it here. Because now they can crack this and Burning Wish, and that's enough. Alright. We got killed on turn 2 and we had a turn 3 kill. I don't think we can feel upset with how this one panned out. Let's go to round 2. So this hand doesn't have a repeatable source of damage in a creature, which is kind of a big deal. It also means that we're kind of mulligan. I think we're just going to take the mulligan. Try and go something a bit better here. Alright, we can keep this and we can bin off one of the lands. So we can go Swiftspear into Swiftspear Rage. And we also have a Fireblast down the pipeline as well. Polluted Delta. A Ponder. They shuffle their library. Okay, I'm going to play the Mesa. Get our opponent thinking about white spells, like Swords to Plowshares and things. In with the Swifty. Next turn we can have quite a big turn if we want to. Alright, Brainstorm. I'm happy to see a Brainstorm rather than Tamiyo into Brainstorm. Tamiyo can shred a decent chunk of damage out of our board. This is also us not getting reanimated on this turn. A Wasteland. Good luck with that one, opponent. Dragon's Rage Channeler. Is that what I want to do here? Do I think this game is going to last long enough? Let's play the Swiftspear out. It's not an unreasonable time to try and get a Monstrous Rage in because it's going to pump all of these things. Just do I think I have the time? So this is 5 damage this turn. 1 mana for 5 damage is a lot. And it gives us +1 damage on the following turn. Or we can play this Channeler and just get more guys going. Alright, we're going to go for the Channeler. Going for like persistent sources of damage. I think our opponent is probably running... Yeah, okay. I'd rather this get dazed, I think. Our opponent is probably running either Reanimate or Tempo. With Wasteland, it's very unlikely that they're running Doomsday. Now, they could be on like a Grixis deck or something. But again, we're on a turn where we're not going to get Entomb Reanimated on, which is the main thing we care about. We're also a fair ways away from a Barragoyf messing up our day. Underground Sea. You're going to Thoughtseize me? You're going to Fatal Push my guy? Sure. Monstrous Rage, you say? This is going to be a pretty big whack, I think. Right, let's pump this guy. So what is the exact text of how this works? If you control another roll on it, put that one into the graveyard. Okay, this doesn't quite work in the best way possible. Right, we'll just attack for 5 here, I think. So this wouldn't attach the roll, but it would give us some more damage. So this would be 3 damage. So we can turn this into a lightning bolt, or we can save it to make another creature scarier. Or, you know, give ourselves a bigger burst of damage to push through something next turn. It is an instant after all. Well, would you look at that? There is a Monastery Swiftspear, and we are immediately rewarded for the play we took. I wonder if we're ever going to find out what our opponent's deck is before we go to the sideboard. Alright, Force of Will. Sure. We're getting Fatal Pushed here. We are getting Fatal Pushed. That is unfortunate. Okay. Our opponent can't really reanimate very well if that's what their game plan is, though. A Dragon's Rage Channeler. Sure. 1/1. We have no sorceries in the graveyard. An Orcish Bowmaster. Okay, so they're going to choose to ping our guy down. I think we Monstrous Rage it. This gives it a +1/+1 from the roll token. I put this into the graveyard as well. Boom. All of a sudden, we've got a big boy. It's still only a 4/4 on our turn, but our opponent is pretty close to dying. If we have like a lightning bolt, we might be able to win the game. Blue mana. Is this petty theft? Sure. Opponents had quite a lot of interaction here. But that's just what their deck is built to do. Heartfire Hero. Alright, let's get the mouse in. Channeler in. It's still a 3/3. Would have liked a Monstrous Rage for our little Heartfire Hero. That would have been real good. Black. Is this going to be like an Edict or something? Bowmasters. Okay. Feels like our opponent's deck is a tempo build. Sure. So we're just going to deal 1 to our opponent here. Off of our little Heartfire Hero. We've got 7 damage that we can leverage here. Dragon's Rage Channeler. I'm going to play this out pre-combat in case we need to get double surveils going. So our opponent's dead next turn. And if they answer one of our guys, they're still dead. They just don't know it. Now they might have some interaction that stops our Fireblast on the stack. But I like our spot. It's a lot better when your opponent isn't just killing you on turn 1 or 2. Reckless Charge. This is a sorcery. Right, I will fire it off on this guy. We don't need a mountain here. Heartfire Hero, though. No, he's put. We're just looking for burn spells, I think, here. What have you got? A Bitter Triumph. Discarding a card. Let's float a mana. Let's Fireblast them. We might as well get our surveils in while our creature's still alive. We need a mountain here. Boltwave will do. So we lose this guy, and then the Channeler should be lethal. If it isn't, we have a Boltwave next turn. Alright, we managed to win the game. Not bad. So this is one of those matchups where we're going to want these Claim of the Firstborns so that we don't just get killed by the annoying Barragoyf. Not a big lover of Barragoyf for us. I do like the Monstrous Rage plan with the Heartfire Hero. It's something that can contend. The Cori-Steel Cutter is very good against slower decks. Maybe we just have to get rid of some Bolt Waves. Gosh, somewhere in this big pile of 1-drops, aren't they? Let's trim a couple of Bolt Waves. Let's trim a Bauble and a Fireblast. Let's try that. 2 things that pump creatures, no creatures to pump. I think we can take a mulligan here. We're going to have to mulligan because no lands in that one. Alright, we're keeping this one. So, I think we end up getting rid of the Heartfire Hero here and the Claim of the Firstborn. Or is it Heartfire Hero and Monastery Swiftspear? It's probably this. We can dig to one of those later. One of these has got to go. We're testing out the little mouse today, so let's see how the mouse goes. Ideally, we draw a land on our first turn, so we can just go Channeler into Steel Cutter Bauble. And that's quite a strong way to approach things. Land? Not a land. Pretty good, though. Are we just going to send this into a daze? I don't think I want to do that. Let's test the daze with this Channeler. Okay, we're in. I'm not going to burn off the Bauble here. Yep, Fatal Push. You got it, boss. Brainstorm. Not bad at all for our opponents. So Fatal Push is online for our opponents. Wouldn't mind a land here. Spirit Guide not being a land. Almost looked awkward then, but wasn't. Alright, let's go for Cori-Steel Cutter. If they daze this, we can get them with the Spirit Guide quite nicely. Let's get our little friend. Toxic Deluge. Not too shabby here. We don't have a lot of cards left because we did mull to 5. So if we can draw like a Reckless Charge, then this guy comes in absolutely guns a-blazing next turn. Like just any spell is going to be good for us though, because it's going to trigger the Steel Cutter. So they didn't draw the Toxic Deluge, they shuffled it away. So we can extend out a little bit. We don't really have a choice. Okay, we didn't find the thing we wanted here. That is awkward for us. I think in a matchup like this, it's more important to be getting triggers from our Cori-Steel Cutter than it is to just get a little burst of damage in right then. Now that can obviously come undone in several ways. So this is definitely a way that could have gone wrong for us. Because our little mouse would have just died. Because we could have played and equipped the Steel Cutter. But then they just get to deal with it in response. And then we just have a 1-1. So I like the route we took there. Especially when they're holding up a Bowmaster. A Wasteland. Sure. Coming in for damages. Let's crack this and make our opponent sweat something. Make it look like we're thinking about something for a second. And then pass it. It's a little bit of gamesmanship then. When we're playing burn, we're never going to go to time, so we've got a little bit of time to make our opponent sweat it a bit. They have another Bowmasters. That'd be really annoying, wouldn't it? Okay, I'm going to play the mouse here. And play this Scalding Tarn. Crack this now. I'm going to attempt to move this over to our mouse. Oh wow, they didn't have another Bowmaster. Interesting. And then we lightning bolt our opponent's face and get another token here. So I can attack for 2 through 4 here, or this can attack for 3 right now. 3, 4, 5. So we say no to this. And we force through an additional 1 point damage this way. We can target this every turn with the Cori-Steel Cutter. Bouncing my poor little mouse. Yep, this is the downside of not moving it across there. It does mean that they've put another spell in our hand though, so triggering the Cori-Steel Cutter again should be slightly easier. We're kind of just treading water until our opponent plays a Barragoyf. If they don't play a Barragoyf, why would I say that? Okay, they have a Barragoyf. Not in love with that for us. Oh, look at this cowardly lack of attack. Another land is obviously awful for us. So let's play this guy. Let's equip this guy. I don't think we're attacking here, sadly. I'm not going to play this land out. We want our opponent to think about what we might have. Maybe the threat of prowess stuff is going to stop them from attacking us. They should just be sending in with a Barragoyf. A Brainstorm. So we have to make a decision. Is it worth our opponent getting 4 looks at another Barragoyf? Or is us having this guy back on that can have prowess better? I could also trade the Heartfire Hero for the Barragoyf and just take the 1 hit and then just try and win with our Cori-Steel Cutter. That's pretty reasonable, I think, isn't it? So if we block here... Oh, wait, no, that doesn't trade at all, does it? What am I talking about? This only goes to face. It doesn't go to... Oh, that was a bit of a miss. I had a brief moment where I thought this could go to any creature. Or any target, even. But no, it's just each opponent, isn't it? Chain Lightning. What are we doing with Chain Lightning? Not a lot. Let's equip this Steel Cutter. I think we just have to let our opponent have a turn with Barragoyf attacking us. So we could have hit the Nethergoyf with the Chain Lightning, or Chain Lightning their face and attack with a 3/3. But I think we need to save it and just try and produce as many tokens as we can. That's the way that we can get past the life gain our opponent's got off of this Barragoyf. That Claim the Firstborn that we didn't keep around before. I'm regretting that a little bit now. But we multi 5. We didn't need to throw away our stupid little mouse though. That was really bad. Because we could have been pumping it every turn and that would have been fine. Right, I didn't find anything off of the Barragoyf, which is something. It's a 5-power Barragoyf. And a Kaito post-main phase. So you're probably going to... No, probably just going to take extra card here, right? Yeah, Surveil 2 makes sense to me. So... How do we get out of this little pickle? Boltwave. That's step 1, isn't it? That can only have 1 target, so... We know where that's going. Now, Chain Lightning. I think this has to go face. How dead are we on the backswing here? So if we Chain Lightning our opponent's face, they go to 9. This isn't lethal. We can block here. I think we're just done, actually. Let's just try and go to game 3 and keep a 7-card hand and win the game. Do I need to be running Price of Progress? I don't think so here. Our opponent can play on a couple of basics, and they have Wastelands that aren't going to be used against us. So they can use them on themselves to cut down the damage. Okay, I wouldn't mind more land, but this is a lot of damage. 3, 6, 9, 12. And then maybe finish them with their own Barragoyf at some point. Let's get Your Friend of Mine, Dragon's Rage Channel. This can obviously surveil us towards some stuff. I don't think it's going to make it around the table. But if it does, then I'll take it. And we're going to see Underground Sea into Fatal Push here. Island, okay. It's just Tamiyo. It is just Tamiyo. Okay. Let's Chain Lightning their Tamiyo. Bauble can go into the graveyard here. Okay, Force of Will on the Chain Lightning. Missing on the land is not ideal. Let's see if they do anything about this. We can get 1 point damage through. Like, the Chain Lightning was obviously the way that we're trying to push through this. But if we'd have had an instant we could have played like a Gut Shot or something, then that would have taken them out. Now they get to Bowmaster here. Yep. This is all going pretty badly for us. At least the next one is going to be delirious. A mountain. Kind of could have done with you last turn. Alright, let's Chain Lightning our opponent's face. They didn't daze before, so I don't believe they have a daze, so I'm just going to Boltwave them now. Our opponent's at 12. So we can steal a creature and bash them with it, maybe for a bunch. So if they swing out here and play Barragoyf, we can do some work maybe. How big will Barragoyf be though? Instant, artifact, land, creature, sorcery. It's a 5/6. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So a mountain off the top for the win. Come on. Give me the goods. Not a mountain. Okay, so we play Swiftspear here. Quite the pause on this guy. I think we try and steal the Barragoyf here. Try and get in for 7 damages. And then if we find a creature off the Barragoyf, we can put it in with Reckless Charge. And even if they get a hit for 5, it might not be enough at this point. Heartfire Hero. We can Reckless Charge that next turn as well. Not bad. Okay, so our opponent's on 4. Now they can crack in with a Barragoyf and gain 5 life. This doesn't have Trample though, does it? Just the Barragoyf coming in, sure. And go back up to 9. I really hate Barragoyf as a card. It's just a bit too good. The fact that so many decks can just pivot into having a fair tempo plan just by running Barragoyf in their sideboard is kind of gross. Okay. The Heartfire Hero looks very bad right now because there's a lot of stuff on the other side of the board. Haste, not necessarily the most useful thing here. We need to be able to trample over their things. So we could be in a situation where we have to block with our guy, bolt our own guy, stop them gaining life. What are we doing here? If we play the Heartfire Hero, if we pump the Heartfire Hero with a Reckless Charge, it becomes a 5 power guy. So we're 1 damage shy of killing them with the Lightning Bolt if we do it that way. And then we just have to deal with this the following turn. Alright, let's charge our guy here. He's going to grow. And I think we attack with everything. We have a prowess trigger we can utilize as well. We just need to draw that mountain on that turn where we could have finished our opponent off. Alright. I think this is going to die anyway, right? There's no way that we can force through this to trade anything. Okay. We need our opponent to block worse than they did. So the Barragoyf connects again. They go up to 15. We need Claim the Firstborn and them to not attack. And then to attack with these things. So 6. Yeah, we're almost dead as well. Sure. You can have a Bowmasters. Yeah, we're just not getting through all this, are we? That was unfortunate. It was very much a case of Barragoyf is a problem. And we had sort of our answer to it. And we just needed to draw a land. And we would have had enough damage to force through the lethal attack. We just couldn't quite get there. That was unfortunate. Alright, on to round 3. 3 lands is too many lands. But if we don't draw any more lands, it'll be fine. If we mulligan, we can end up in a similar situation. I think we just have to keep this. Ideally, we just want 2 land hands. But if it's 3 lands and we never draw another land, then I'll take that as well. I'm not going to use this Bauble to pump the Monastery Swiftspear on the first turn. I'm going to use this on turn 2 when we can maybe use it alongside a fetch land to surveil, kind of, for our draw. It's like a scry. We can work out if we want the top card or not before we play our land drop. And then we can also possibly have a Cori-Steel Cutter get popped off with this. Let's attack with our Swiftspear and pass the turn. Just a scrub land. So this feels like a Swords to Plowshares might be in our future. Alright, let's Mishra's Bauble. Let's get the prowess. If they have a plow, they probably use it in response. They didn't use it. Let's have a look at the top card of our library. Heartfire Hero. Okay, I don't mind drawing that one. Let's get a Boltwave in. Let's attack. And there is a Swords to Plowshares. Sure. That's why we didn't go all in with a bolt there. Surprised I didn't bolt in response to the first Bauble. Started the whole chain of things that happened. So that's a removal spell that's not going to be used on our little Heartfire Hero, which has a dies trigger. So we very much want this to not be exiled. Basic Plains, Guide of Souls. Sure. What are you playing here? Ocelot Pride. Not a fan of anything that's happening here. I think we have to lightning bolt the Guide of Souls. Monastery Swiftspear, you say? Okay. Let's go for Mouse, Monk, power out our guy. This is half our opponent's life total, so that's not bad going. And we can fire in the Reckless Charge again next turn. Now they're going to start getting some chump blockers off of this Ocelot Pride. We did have another option for just leaving back the Monastery Swiftspear. But if our opponent has any removal spell or anything that gains them life and they don't have to attack, then it's really bad for us. So now they're going to make 2 cats. So I'd quite like to draw a Monstrous Rage here. Now they could just hold them both back and try and get the first strike to go, but that's not going to work very well if we just flash back our Reckless Charge. We have the plays we have. Let's try and attack our opponent for lethal damage. We can get Swords to Plowshare here. It's a Bowmasters. That's just going to be a chump block for our guy, isn't it? Okay, so they're going to ping this and then they're going to double block the Swiftspear. I wonder if we're supposed to keep the land in hand so our opponent doesn't know what the last card is. Oh, why don't you have Trample Mouse? Yep, this is where things start going out of control for us. The Ocelot Prize are going to make 2 guys. So if we don't find a Monstrous Rage, we're just never going to be able to push through our opponent's board. Alright, they are on the 3 colour build. So that's something we can punish with our Price of Progress, at least, out of the board. Yeah, a couple of cats. Next turn they get the City's Blessing, I believe. How useful is having a Lightning Bolt here? We can just sit back and try and block these Ocelot Pride tokens and blow up any creature that's going to be giving them life. I think we have to stop turning sideways. Goblin Bombardment. Yep, not in love with that. The City's Blessing, you say? So they're coming in with some stuff here. So we can block this cat and see what our opponent wants to do. Alright, they're going to ping our Heartfire Hero. Ping it a second time, sure. You're going to lose your Orcish Bowmasters. It's kind of awkward because we ping this, then they get rid of this. We have to do that still. So what they're going to do is they're going to Goblin Bombardment and use this to ping this, but they're not going to gain any life this turn. Oh, they just let it go. Okay, so now they will gain the life here and our Heartfire Hero will die. Yep, okay. Not ideal. Get 2 cats again. Could you stop it with all these cats, please? Fireblast. That's not going to do the most. However, our opponent doesn't have a lot of life gain. They just have the Ocelot Pride. So if we can just hit run of burn spells, I think we'll be okay. Ajani. That is a problem for our life total. Because they can attack us and they can ping us with Goblin Bombardment. This flips the Ajani and then they can start doming us for huge amounts. Outraptor, yep. Voice of Victory. Well, that's very lethal the following turn, isn't it? Even if we draw another Fireblast, we still can't kill our opponent. I think we're dead here. I think we're just going to scoop it up. Having a rough time with burn. Having a rough time. So, what looks good here? Price of Progress is probably going to be able to dome our opponent for quite a lot. I don't hate those. I don't really want to be doing Claim the Firstborn stuff. Harsh Mentor doesn't really do anything either here. So probably just get rid of the Boltwaves because these are the things that can't target creatures. And we'll just leave it at that. So, in theory, the ability for us to be able to play creatures and then remove their stuff and just beat down a little bit like a tempo deck should be good here. 4 lands. I think this has to be a mulligan. Okay. We got a mouse. I do like the mouse. I think we've been off one of these Cori-Steel Cutters. I think it's a channeler that comes down first, just so we can try and sculpt our draws. So I'll be looking at Lightning Bolt plus Heartfire Hero next turn, or we could just play Cori-Steel Cutter depending on what our opponent does. If this is a Guide of Souls, then we do have to bolt that because it's going to... This is also a thing we have to bolt. Could have bolted this in the upkeep, so we could have surveilled. Fireblast, you can go to the graveyard. It wouldn't have made any difference on us finding the lands, but maybe that's something we do next turn. If we naturally find a land and gives us options for Cori-Steel Cutter, that ends up being really good as well. Okay. Swords to Plowshares and pass for our opponent. They kept to 1 lander. Okay. Let's play out a mouse. This mouse can get pretty big. We can Monstrous Rage, or we can do nothing. That's also a thing. Okay. Okay. Monastery Swiftspear. We've got a guy. We can put some things on it and he can be big. Guide of Souls. Don't like that for us, but we can blow it up. Can we please find a land now? I think we've been good enough. Let's have one. Okay. All I had to do was ask, apparently. So we lightning bolt this guy first. And we're going to get a mountain. And we get monstrous with it. This is a lot of damage our opponent's taking. So our opponent doesn't do anything too scary and we draw a land. We can maybe pop both of these off. All we needed was for our opponent to not be able to cast their spells for only having 1 land. It's a secret hidden strategy of our deck. Our opponent just not being able to play the game. To be fair, they've cast 5 spells. I think I'm just going to get the cutter down. It does give us a prowess trigger. Makes our follow-up turn, next turn, a lot better. And these give us trample bodies, or at least they trample when they've got the steel cutter equipped, which is kind of big news. I think we can pretty comfortably kill our opponent next turn with a flurry of bodies. So they're going to 7 with this fetch down. They're probably going to play something like Voice of Victory or a Ajani. It's a Ajani. I think we can kill them this turn because this guy has trample. And they've got Solitude over there. That could be annoying. Heartfire Hero. Is that a bit of a trap? So this, we're going to give this guy +4. So that's 6 trample damage, 7, 8 trample damage, 9, 10 damage. So I can block 2. Yeah, I think this works best for us if we play this guy out. And then we pump up the guy with trample. So there's 8 trample damage coming and our opponent's scooping it up. Awesome. We achieved a thing. Let's see if we can do that again. Just trading off our burn spells for their spooky creatures. We only really care about 2 of their creatures, the Guide of Souls and the Ocelot Pride. But we really care about them. 3 lands is a bit too many, but we have a removal spell. And we have a nice big beater that's going to have trample to get through their little guys. So I don't hate this spot we're in. Marsh Flats pass. Okay, so our opponent's either going to surveil land or kill our guy. I guess we put them to the test to see if they're going to kill our guy. Or he's going to get surveil land. Them not having a 1-drop is interesting. Unless they're trying to play both 1-drops on the same turn, which is interesting. We're holding this Bauble for 1 turn just in case we find something that matters for it, like a Dragon's Rage Channeler or a Cori-Steel Cutter or whatever. But once we have 3 lands, then we can just Cori-Steel Cutter plus something else. Alright, it is a Bowmasters. So they're going to ping our poor little mouse. And then they take 1, and now the Monstrous Rage in our hand is blank for a little while. Chain Lightning. Okay, so now I think we are going to Mishra's Bauble. I very much like to draw a card. I'm going to do it in our opponent's turns. We're not going to let them attack with their Orc Army when it's being bigger. So we'll take the damage, then we'll pop the Bauble. I think that's the better way. I don't really want to Lightning Bolt an Orcish Bowmaster either. And we want to save spells so we can feed them into like Prowess or Cori-Steel Cutter activations. And these aren't the creatures we want to kill. Voice of Victory. That is kind of big. Not using our mana for a turn is not ideal. Ocelot Pride on top. That is one of the things that we don't want our opponent to have. Now, they might shuffle it away, deny us the information we have. So they're going to get a ping off this Bowmaster. We have a Cori-Steel Cutter now, though, which is kind of a big deal. So we're probably going Steel Cutter, shoot the Voice of Victory, and then attack with the Steel Cutter. Heartfire Hero. Does that do anything right now? Not especially. So Steel Cutter, Chain Lightning while they don't have red. Goodbye, Voice of Victory. Hello. Some guys that we can attack with. Are we getting Swords to Plowshed? I don't hate that as an exchange. They've shuffled away this cat token. Alright, they just really want to keep their life total preserved. But we're going to be easily able to continually trigger this for a couple of turns. Oh, look at all this damage our opponent's got for us with our little Price of Progress. I'm feeling good about this one, team. I wonder how it's all going to fall apart in a couple of turns' time. Fireblast, you say. I'm going to play out this little guy. And then I guess we rage it. This is the best thing in our deck that we can put Monstrous Rage on. It feels like it's going to get removed. But yeah, we still get the second spell. So we get the trigger of the Cori-Steel Cutter. So we've got 13 damage in hand. And if this all triggers Prowess next turn, then our opponent dies. So I think we're okay. We've got a Lightning Bolt that we might have to point at a guy. We'll see what our opponent plays. Valley of Golgoroth. Static Prison. That one is burdensome because they take our Cori-Steel Cutter. Okay. So this Wasteland can reduce the amount of damage they take from us. A Dragon's Rage Channeler. Let's play this guy out. Let's attack for 1. Eventually this Static Prison is going to run out of energy. And maybe our opponent taps this Wasteland for something at some point. An Ocelot Pride. Not a lover of that for us. We're going to shoot this on our turn so that we can get the Prowess on our guy. We'll probably do this in the upkeep so that we get the Surveil before we draw. Just optimize slightly there. Reckless Charge. That's a very interesting one. It does stuff from the graveyard though. Our opponent's got 1 card in hand. If we just dome our opponent for 6 this turn, that's pretty strong. Alright, I will take this one. Alright, let's surveil for next turn. Lightning Bolt. It's pretty hard to pass up the old Lightning Bolt. They can trade both of these for my Monk token if they wish. And I will take that trade. We are in a pretty comfortable position. We have a Lightning Bolt on top. Static Prison is almost out of counters here. We need our opponent to just not play 2 creatures out in 1 turn cycle. That's how we lose. Let's go attacks. We have lethal damage now. We don't need to fire it off until the right moment. Like we can wait for our opponent to tap some mana down or whatever. Static Prison is going to give us the Cori-Steel Cutter back. Plateau, that's not really the one our opponent wants. Let's get this Bauble in. Then we can Lightning Bolt them and then we can attack for lethal. Actually, let's just have a little look at their hand. Just in case. A scrub land. It's not really what our opponent wants to have in their hand, is it? Right, Cori-Steel Cutter. Monstrous Rage. I don't think we need that. So our opponent's got 1 mystery card, and they've scooted up. So he managed to beat the deck with a bunch of main deck life gain. That felt pretty good. And the fact that we're like, I don't want to say slightly bigger than a regular burn deck, but we have the ability to leverage some slightly larger creatures. So our 3/3s, and then obviously the mouse can get quite big too. So that just gave us a nice ability to just sort of play those guys out and then use our burn spells as removal and control the board. All right, on to round 4. We are 1 and 2 so far. This hand looks pretty good. We got turn 1, Channeler, turn 2, Steel Cutter, Bauble. You know, that's a play that Blue-Red Delver makes in the format, and that's pretty good. All right, opponent's gone to 5. Are they unlucky or are they playing a combo deck? Here comes the Dragon's Rage Channeler. And pass it over. Flooded Strand. We have 2 cutters, so I'm perfectly happy to play one of these into a daze. Reckless Charge. I don't think we need that. I can get out of here. Let's get our Bauble in. Monstrous Rage is an instant, so okay. We're a lot of the way towards our Dragon's Rage Channeler being delirious. Well, we could make it delirious potentially if we Fireblast and get rid of all of our own lands. That's not really what I'm about though. So we don't know if our opponent's playing discard or what, so we're going to see what they do. If they go for like a Surveil land here, we can see what they keep on top. Because not only do we get to see a card they're about to draw, we also get to know that they wanted it. So it can help us determine what's in the rest of our opponent's hand. And a Boron Oculus. Okay, so we're probably playing Stifle Naught. Well, it's not really Stifle Naught anymore, because there's no Stifles, but you know what I mean. Let's see what you got over there. The Dreadnought on top of their library. Okay. And there's this Bauble and Boltwave. Okay, let's go Cori-Steel Cutter. Let's get this ticking away. Artifacts and creatures entering don't cause abilities to trigger. That shouldn't actually matter for what we've got here. A daze, though. That does matter. Chain Lightning. Are we still doing Chain Lightning stuff? I don't think we are. We really need to put a land in the graveyard to get Delirious. I don't think we want this Chain Lightning. Let's get Cori-Steel Cutter going. We don't need another Reckless Charge. So I think this Cori-Steel Cutter still equips, even in the face of Doorkeeper Thrall, because the ability of making the token is what puts it on there. It's not it activating. Okay, let's see what they've got in hand. Phyrexian Dreadnought. Okay. So attack here. I don't think we're going to be firing off a Fireblast anytime soon. Why am I attacking with the Dragon's Rage Channeler? Whoops. I guess that means we force through the 3 damage here. Okay, so next turn we have a decent amount of damage. So we play both of these. We also get to Fireblast that pumps a little bit more. They're going to have 2 Dreadnoughts though. Can we beat 2 Dreadnoughts? So these basically don't deal damage anymore. This is 7 damage. 8, 9, 10, 11. So we would need to find 4 more damages. Imagine if we still had a Dragon's Rage Channel we could use. Maybe we were supposed to Fireblast this guy in response to the first Dreadnought. But now, if we go face 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 4 is not the right number though. This is instant, right? So if we attack with 3 guys, they block here on one of them. We can give that one trample and maybe enough to get over the top here. 4, 5, 6, 7. So we need to get 4 damage through. So this will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So yeah, we do have a route to victory if our opponent has nothing. Heartfire Hero. Does that make any difference to us here? If we want to play around days, we're not playing Heartfire Hero, are we? So this is Boltwave. Grow some guys. And then I don't think we get to play around days here, right? Because we want the prowess on this. So we have to get the Heartfire Hero in to get our second Cori-Steel Cutter. And we attack. I think we have enough here. You need to block the big one on this one. That's a mistake, I think. We put the Phyrexian Dreadnought on this one because this one has trample. Yeah, and then Doorkeeper Thrall goes over here. Let's see if I've done enough maths here. This gets large and has trample now. And then we Fireblast them. Gets our creatures even larger. And if this Fireblast resolves, I think we win the game. Yeah, and we trample over for 5. Whew, that was not the easiest thing in the world. But you know what's really good against someone putting Dreadnoughts into play? The old Claim of the Firstborn. Sign me up for that one. Okay, so Boltwave, probably not that exciting here. It's just a worse version of Chain Lightning for us most of the time. Alright, I guess we just try with this. We could play Price of Progress. It's probably going to be good for a reasonable amount of damage. But I think we don't want to sideboard too heavily. And Claim the Firstborn is obviously an absolute banger in the matchup. Okay, we're on the draw, so the chance of us finding another land a little bit higher. Okay, we found the land. So our creature is about to get hit by a Hydroblast. It didn't get hit by a Hydroblast. Are we saving this in case we draw? I've already got a land here, so I'm not going to surveil with this yet. I'm going to try and use it next turn in case we find a Cori-Steel Cutter. That way we can maximize damages. And there's a Saga, sure. That's going to be a Dreadnought in a few turns' time. Can make some big boys that we can maybe steal later on. Okay, so they do have a Blue Blast. But that's a Blue Blast that's not being pointed at something like a Cori-Steel Cutter, which would be one of our better draws here. Monastery Swiftspear. Okay, let's get swifty here. Let's get monstrous with it. And now we're rewarded for keeping this Bauble in hand as well. I can hit our opponent for 11 this turn if I wanted to. I keep thinking about just sacrificing my lands all the time to Fireblast. So next turn, we've got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 damage. So we have lethal next turn if our opponent gives us an opportunity to just send it into their face. I think he's just going to play a land and just sit on constructs. Wasteland, not the most useful. No white mana is no removal though. Curie. Okay. So next turn they get a Phyrexian Dreadnought. Understood. That means they're probably not going to block here, right? Which is worth more damage. A Swiftspear or a Curie. Sorry, a Swiftspear or a Chain Lightning here. So you can Chain Lightning this straight away. Okay, I think we're just going to Swiftspear and then Chain Lightning the Curie. We don't need to mess around with it. A Daze. Yeah, this is the downside of playing it this way. Although, this means they don't get to do the Curie thing, right? Because they're not going to have a blue source. I wonder if our opponent blocks the Swiftspear. Am I supposed to Fireblast them? So if we Fireblast our opponent, this kills this. They take 4, 8. That puts them down to 6. And then we kind of need some other stuff going on. No, I think we just have to take our damages here. So they don't have a blue source to make the Curie make a Dreadnought. Because the Dreadnought trigger goes on the stack, then they exile it with Curie. So they probably have to get something else here. A Dreadnought. Is this just to get it out of their deck? This is the price you pay for using that Daze. You don't get to have a massive guy. You can sacrifice your Dreadnought. So this does just fill up their graveyard with something like an Abhorrent Oculus, which I think requires you to get 6 cards out of your bin. And they don't have 6. Alright, happy with how that turn went for us. Alright, they're attacking with a Curie first. Okay, so they do get to draw a card here, but they don't have any blockers. That is somewhat precarious. A Ponder, so they don't have a blue mana for a Hydroblast this turn, so it's a much better turn to try and resolve a Fireblast. Cori-Steel Cutter, is that better here? Play Cori-Steel Cutter, we cast Fireblast. So that's 4 damage, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So that's exactly lethal. If we play Monstrous Rage on this guy, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So if we do the Monstrous Rage line, it works through a Daze. Alright, I will Rage my guy. Force of Will. Ching Dress down. Okay. So now I don't think we have enough damage to win. Not this turn anyway. So this is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. No, it's still enough, right? This is worth 6 damage. We've got 5 in play. All right, let's attack. Boom. And there goes the damage. All right, we got 2-0. So things are improving for us as the league goes on. Let's have a little look. So we started off 1-2, 1-2. Then it went 2-1. Now it's 2-0. So final round, let's see if we get a positive record with a mouse burn deck. All right, this hand seems fine to me. We can lead off on a channeler. Again, we'll hold the Bauble until turn 2. Oh, our opponent, the Shallow Grave, is a well-known Reanimator player, so we might just have a horrible time here. But maybe we get to burn our opponent out. If our opponent is on their signature graveyard decks, we're going to have a bad time. Polluted Delta and pass. So I'm alive still. That's always interesting. Right, I'm going to get our land out first. Then we can Bauble. Do we need another land? Not particularly right now. Let's see if our opponent's playing something a bit different. Bloodstained Mire. So no more information. Let's play this sorcery on our guy. Boltwave. That is also a sorcery. And then let's put an instant into our graveyard. If our opponent is on reanimation, this amount of damage should hopefully scare them a bit. Alright, they're going to 10 here. Not bad for turn 2. Oh, they might be doing main deck Witherbloom command. Witherbloom apprentice plan. And then the sideboard is going to be all of their reanimation stuff. That is a possibility. Feels like our opponent's doing some maths over there, adding up how dead we are. They are unmasking us, pitching a Dark Ritual. So all of our cards are the same. Alright, we got game 1 against Reanimator. That is a massive deal. I would like to play some Faerie Macabres. I think that's about all we have going on here. I don't really want these other bits and pieces. I like the removal spells because they can hit Witherbloom Apprentice. Our creatures are largely going to go uncontested. What are we getting rid of here? Maybe we trim a Bauble and a couple of Boltwaves. Maybe the Cori-Steel Cutter is too slow. Maybe the Cori-Steel Cutter is too slow and we'll just have another Boltwave back in. I'll keep this one. We can go turn 1, Swiftspear, Channeler, Bauble, crack in for 3 damages, possibly more. Unlikely that it's going to be more, right? Unless we draw a fetch land for our first turn. Then we can see. Didn't draw a fetch land. Okay, let's play Channeler out. So we could play out the Swiftspear right now. If our opponent has the Witherbloom Apprentice combo, they might just send it. So I think I'm going to play it a little bit cautiously and just hold up this surprise lightning bolt in case they are going for Witherbloom Apprentice combo. Because we can take their entire hand. Okay, they've gone for show and tell line instead of Witherbloom. Now they might have Witherbloom and show and tell. So we'll see. Unmask, targeting me. Sure. What would you like to take? Probably the Fireblast? Simian Spirit Guide, sure. And then they're going to... Oh, I tried to play around and they still had it. And then they're just going to point the last card in their hand, which is Chain of Smog. Yup. I thought they might just go if we were tapped out. Okay. I guess we just send it again. I don't think we can keep this one, so we're going to mulligan this one. I guess we keep. So this is Dragon's Rage Channeler into Mishra's Bauble. We don't need this land. So this can find us a Faerie Macabre is the reason we're doing it now. Grizzle around on top of their library. Probably not where they want it, but the deck can quite easily put cards into their graveyard from their hand. Cabal Therapy, Thoughtseize, Unmask. There's a bunch of options. I don't like how long our opponent's taking here. It makes me think that they have a win. Unmask. Targeting themselves. They're going to put this Grizzlebrand into the graveyard. There it is. They're going to reanimate the Grizzlebrand. Are they going to draw a bunch of cards? They're just going to enjoy having a lifelink guy. I think just having the lifelink guy is pretty good here, but they're on pretty healthy life total. It is turn 1. Okay, they get to discard 1 card, which can just be another monster they can reanimate next turn, which is a reason to go up to 8 cards off of the Grizzlebrand activation. Reckless Charge. That would be very reckless, wouldn't it? I don't think we want to attack with our Dragon's Rage Channeler here. So we're going to go to Boltwave our opponent. We don't need a land right now. And then we can lightning bolt them. This also holds up to play around a Witherbloom thingamajig apprentice. That's the one. Alright, so they're going to gain 6 here, which is more than I would like them to gain. Thoughtseize. Right, I will lightning bolt their face. Chain lightning is fine. So they get to 11 here. We got 9 damage coming through. Okay, we don't have 9 damage through. Okay, so I'm going to take our Reckless Charge. So we basically just invalidate the Grizzlebrand attack, but we still take damage. It doesn't seem like a winning recipe, does it? Alright, let's get some Surveil action for next turn. We don't need a Bauble. 3 damages. That puts our opponent to 5, which sounds good, until you realise they're about to go up to 11. Why are you doing this to me, Grizzlebrand? They've gone to 4, which is pretty baller. Not sure if this is meaning that our opponent's about to kill us immediately with like a Witherbloom combo. Feels like that's the case. Show and tell. I don't have any monsters here. Is this going to be an Archon of Cruelty? It is an Archon of Cruelty. I don't believe we can win here. So we'll just pack it up. I think we could have beaten like a turn 2 Grizzlebrand, but turn 1 was a bit much. So we lost to turn 1 combo decks twice. We lost to the Barragoyf, and then we beat the other matchup. So I think we correctly identified what our deck would be good and bad against at the start. You know, we're going to struggle against some of these turn 1 combo decks, but then we're going to have the ability to grind through some of the fairer things, and Barragoyf is basically the only problem in the fair decks that we care about, and that's what we ended up losing to. So what do we think about this list? And more importantly, what do we think about Mighty Mouse over here? So this card was okay at times, and at other times it was not great. So on average, I think it was probably dealing less damage than a Goblin Guide would. So maybe the mouse is not the one. But what did feel really good was Monstrous Rage. The trample here was huge, and just being able to pump our guys felt really good. The Reckless Charge, not so much. So I could see maybe just getting rid of the Reckless Charge and the mouse. Keeping the Monstrous Rage though, this felt really, really good for what we were doing here. Especially with Cori-Steel Cutter tokens. So maybe go up to a 4th Cori-Steel Cutter. Maybe get some Goblin Guides in there. That's just another thing that can wear a Monstrous Rage and be pretty good. That's probably going to end up doing more damage than a Heartfire Hero. It's also not going to get picked off by a Bowmaster sometimes, which was very irritating. So yeah, I think this burn deck's got some juice to it. We did try some stuff out, and it didn't quite work out as well as we hoped. Like, we did do some cool stuff with the Heartfire Hero. We did probably punt that game where we blocked with this, because I forgot the ability is just to each opponent, not to a target. The idea of we could have just sat behind this and just equipped it every turn to pump it, and then eventually it would have been able to beat the Barragoyf, and maybe we could just win by having a larger creature. So the one time we really could have showcased why this card is really good, we didn't really get the opportunity to because I made a mistake. So yeah, not sure about that one. But the burn deck seems okay. I've played burn on the channel several times before. I'm actually a big fan of, well, I was a pretty big fan of the Grim Lavamancer for a while, but I'm kind of off of it now. I do like the 1 or 2 of the Miracle burn spell that deals 5 damage for 1 mana, Thunderous Wrath I think it is, especially when you have things like Dragon's Rage Chandler, because as long as it's not your very first draw for your very first turn, or in your opening hand, then it's always going to be 1 mana 5 damage, and that's just too good value to pass up. It does mean you have to be careful about how you're playing your baubles, which is something to note, but it's also a 5 damage burn spell is sometimes the thing that can get rid of the Barragoyf, which is obviously a problem. So definitely some things to think about with this list, and if you've got any opinions, I would be interested to hear them. And if you'd like to see more burn on the channel, then, you know, share the video, like the video, watch the video. I think the last burn video I did was like double, or almost double, my second most popular video of all time. So yeah, if you people like burn, I'll keep making it for you, because I do enjoy some of the play patterns of burn and how you have to marshal your resources in certain ways. I think our list had some flaws, but again, we weren't trying to say this is the best burn deck. We were saying, is this busted mouse from standard that got banned and this busted pump spell from standard that got banned, are these good enough to play in Legacy? And I think the Monstrous Rage was. I'm just not really convinced by the Heartfire Hero right now. I did like the Claim the Firstborn tech. It didn't quite get us over the line, but it was close to doing so, and it was doing the job that we wanted it to do. We probably want something that destroys an artifact. That might be useful so that we can get out of Chalice, so probably want Smash to Smithereens in here somewhere. We didn't get to test out the Harsh Mentor really, but maybe that'll be one for another video. Alright, I hope you enjoyed this one. Like I said, please let me know, like, subscribe, become a YouTube member, Patreon member, whatever you want. It all helps. Thank you so much, and goodbye. If you'd like to support me in the channel, please check out my Patreon. It has a free guide to budget turbo depths, as well as 3 tiers of support. A low cost one that enters you into my monthly raffle for a free donation deck on the channel, a mid-tier subscription that gives you access to my detailed turbo depths guide that is updated every month, as well as regular articles, And lastly, the higher tier gives you all of the above, as well as a monthly donation deck for my channel. If you're interested in supporting the channel this way, please check out the link in the description.